we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are getting into one of the greatest haunted houses ever, the haunted Hinsdale Dandy House. We're going to have a great night for you, and I know Paul is asking, why did you choose that picture for me on the thumbnail? It's because that beard is awesome, and my team knows that I love a good mustache and a good beard, and just wait till you see Paul's lip blade. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Let's say hello to each and every one of you as we have Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, Michael Fontaine taking home the bronze medal tonight. Hi, Robert Lamoth, Brown Dwarf, and Link Dandy Paranormal Network. Welcome. Driving while singing, welcome to SOR Chat. We know there's a bunch of new people listening in tonight, so thank you. Hopefully we earn your respect, and you will hit subscribe and ring that bell because we are here 7 days a week. Sophia, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Bert Unplugged, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Nancy Thines, welcome to SOR Chat. And Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, nice to see you. Scrolling on down, we say hello next to Paramarv. Paramarv will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on here, as we continue on with our roll call, we next say hello to, well, let's take a look. Eternity Eternal, thank you for coming on in. And Forrest Louie, how you doing? Carol Miller, welcome to SOR. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Christy. Welcome to SOR Chat. Very much appreciate it. You guys will hear me say that a lot in the next minute or so here because we're going to get going in about 2.5 minutes here. Scrolling on down, where's all my regulars? This is all Paul's people in here so far. Oh, they'll come in. They always come in. Polly Rotterman and Dino Bravo, nice to see you guys. As we continue on with roll call, Laura Lobbs has returned. Laura Lobbs will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Hi, Lisa Smith. How are you? Welcome. I am Pam, everybody. If you're wondering what my disguise is, I'm not Batman. I am Pam. Right there. I am Pam. All right, continuing on here with our roll call as we next say hello to T-Bone, my man. How are you? Where have you been hiding? You okay? You doing okay, T-Bone? Hope so. Number 21 in your program, starting at left wing tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. He scored 48 goals last year. 48 goals. Swamp Gas Jenkins, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Hi, Operation Shutdown. Retraced Echoes, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Kurt M., good to see you. And S. Vermette, thank you for coming on in. And let's see, who else is here? Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. And Crystal J., thank you for coming on in. Hi, Richard Elmore. W. David Page, purple-haired Pixie Lara, nice to see you all here. Scrolling on down, we say hello to Millennium, my man. Good morning, Skip to Malou. See how we are living. How are you doing? How are you? Doug Shelby is here, everybody. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Ozzy, nice to have you back. And who's next? Mama Susan, good to see you. Phil the Stalker, nice to have you here, my man. And who else is next on our list? Karen in the Woo Train. Good to see you. All right. Continuing on. Oob to Joe's Main. You've got hauntings. Yes, you do. Scrolling on down, Alex Sanchez. Nice to have you here. I am going to run out of time here, but let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. The haunted Hinsdale house, Paul Kenyon, is going to join us momentarily here, but we are continuing on with our roll call as Bill WD-40 is lubing us up from somewhere, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. Never any rigidness. Super crazy. How are you? Algaray on Twitch, 500 sit-ups in 2 minutes to prepare for this one. Oh, yeah. Vanessa, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Philip Blair and B. Noble Patrick. Good to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call, there's Mike Rivers. And who is next on our list here? Well, let's scroll on down. I am Pam, everybody. Yes, I am Pam. Scrolling on down. Biofuel Brad, nice to see you. Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful night. And the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Everyone, throw your horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you on tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your night. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock up to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got an amazing show happening for you tonight. We're talking the haunted Hinsdale house. Paul Kenyon will be here momentarily to talk about what it's like to be around a haunted house for the last 51 years. Hey, our social media, I forgot to mention that. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Hey, we're going to have a great time tonight. I love haunted houses. I really do. And you know what? With my weekend coming up very, very soon, where we're going back out in the forest to find Sasquatch, ghosts, and aliens in our special little place, I'm telling you, this is a nice warm-up for that. So let's find out about Paul, shall we? Since as long as Paul Kenyon can remember, he has had what he calls goosies, which he would get the feeling that something was about to happen. Of course, he rarely knew what these feelings were telling him, but something in short time would occur, usually with someone he knew personally. It wasn't until Paul was thrown headlong into the Dandy house, now known as the Hinsdale house. This was 1973. His ex worked with then Clara Dandy. On the fine day, a fire occurred between the walls of an adjacent building and his. A story hit the front page of the newspaper about a haunted house in Hinsdale, New York. Now, Paul says he's always been a skeptic regarding the paranormal, but with some of the insanity he has experienced at the Dandy house, that skepticism has now been easily quashed. The website, hauntedhinsdalehouse.com, if you want to check it on out. Paul Kenyon, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I know you don't do a lot of shows, my man, so the fact that you're allowing us to hear your story here, it's absolutely incredible. Thank you very much for your time.
And thank you for having me, Dave. And thanks for the rock. I've been a rock drummer since 1966. Just got rid of my last set of drums. It's time to retire at 72.
Do you really need to retire from the drums, my man?
No,
Is that so?
You don't. But I did.
Well, I'll tell you a little story here. My audience knows this, but I'll tell you the story. Now, our radio audience won't be able to hear or see this, but right behind me is a guitar. And you'll notice in the strings there is a sticky note. Back on February 25th, of 2022, I had a nightly listener who went by the name on our YouTube chat of Ethereal Aura. And it was about an hour after the show. I didn't have to work the next day, so I was chatting with the audience after the radio side had ended. We're still live on YouTube. And all of a sudden, Ethereal Aura comes in. And he says to me, "This is the last time you'll hear from me." So I'm like, "What? Are you going to another show? You don't like our show?" He goes, "No, I'm scheduled in 8 hours for doctor-assisted blank," because we can't say that on the air anymore. People don't like that word. It starts with an S. And he had been battling some severe health issues, and he was 42 years old, 43 years old, and just, said it was time to go. So he hung out with us for about an hour. And over that time, when he was about to leave for the final time, I said, "Hey, my man, do me a favor." I said, "When you're on the other side, when you're ready and you figure it out, come say hello." And I put that sticky note in the guitar, but the guitar was over here. Now, you can't see this on radio when I say over here. You're like, where? But in my studio now, I have a light of a Bigfoot foot lighting up. That's where the guitar was hanging. And from there, because I like my rock and roll. I do. I love my rock and roll. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's rock. And sometimes the heavier, the better, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
So I put that sticky note within the strings, tight. And I said, when you're ready, move the sticky note. And be damned, my friend, if one night I'm sitting here minding my own business right during the show, and I hear this shuffling, and the sticky note moved diagonally in between the strings. And I was like, you got to be kidding. So here's the weird part about it. I moved the guitar behind me to put the Bigfoot light up. And now every few days, I walk into my studio, as I did tonight, because when I shut things down, I shut all the lights off. But every few days, I walk into the studio and my Bigfoot light is on.
Good story.
Yes. 51 years, Paul, you have been dealing with the Hinsdale / Dandy / Kenyon house. How did this all begin for you, for our audience who may not be familiar?
Well, on my 21st birthday, I bought my first business, my first house, old soda bar, late 1880s soda bar. And everything was going good for 3 months. And then there was a small fire between the barber shop next door in my building. At the same time, the newspaper came in and it said haunted house in Hills of Hinsdale. And I just set it down, dismissed it. I've always been interested, but, not out looking for things like this. And I happened to talk to my then fiance about the fire, about everything. I heard a bunch of ruckus in the background, wondered what was going on. She said, it just so happens I work with the mom of that so-called haunted house. So I said, see if we can come up there. I need a good laugh right now. So we actually went up the night it was in the paper. And that's my first day of realizing that my skepticism I've always had, is going to be changed really quick. This house is nuts. 90% of the time, David's quiet. I love it. It's out in the country. It's on a hill, all by itself, no neighbors. And most of the time when you're there, it's just wonderful. Peaceful. It's got a pond, 8 acres, forest all the way around. And then it begins. And I just came back after a 5-day visit there. We were there for 5 days. My voice is gone. My strength is gone. A friend of mine who comes down from Wisconsin, who is not interested in the paranormal at all, comes down 2 or 3 times a year. He rents it, and we experience some really creepy stuff. And I'm still skeptical. I have to tell you that, Dave. But in the house, when things like this happen, You cannot deny. You can debunk a lot of stuff. You can debunk a lot of stuff in the paranormal world. But up there, when it happens, you need to get out or at least be with somebody to protect yourself because bad things happen in this place. Not just your little regular knocks. I don't care about that. Those things I debunk. When you're sleeping and you stream 24 hours while you're up there, and we do, we were sleeping and you hear these heavy footsteps coming up the stairs right past the bedroom you're sleeping in. When you find that out 2 days after it happened, when you're going through the video, you're about to lose your mind. It just doesn't make sense. You cannot, you know, I've always been a stickler for people on YouTube. They put out these videos, they go to haunted locations. And I this is me personally now. Don't take it as everybody should feel this way. I don't believe most of the stuff they put out. I know a lot of it's made up, and a lot of it's not. But those that are made up, Dave, I think they should put a disclaimer for entertainment purposes. We're doing this for fun. You don't do this for fun at the Dandy House. You can be injured there, and I know that firsthand. So I've been thrown into it, and I can't leave it now. I'm basically trying to get the true absolute story out for Clara Miller. She took her maiden name after her husband passed away. Clara Dandy, now Clara Miller, who wrote Echoes of a Haunting Revisited. I wrote a book about the house. You Know They're Here. In 2009, my second book will be out in August of this year. But I try to get the story straight for Clara now because there's so much misinformation about her family. And I won't have it anymore. I laid back. I just said, I'm done with the house. I don't want to go up too much anymore. It's only 20 minutes for me. So I can get there anytime I want to. And when it's not booked, I plan on going up every chance I get to do recording, to get the story out 100% clear of what happened. We're doing research all the way back to when the house was built in 1853. And I want every detail of every person who's ever lived there. That's my goal.
What makes this house haunted?
God only knows. The experts, and there are none. I don't believe that anybody can really deem themselves an expert in paranormal because so many things can go unanswered. Even when you think you have an answer, it blows up in your face every time. What makes this place haunted, I really don't know. I think possibly just before the Dandies moved in, the ground was totally dug up to build a pond, a very large pond. Maybe that has something to do with it. I really don't know, Dave. Maybe something was stirred up, was disturbed, and which shouldn't have been disturbed. And now we've got this haunting going on. Although Father Alphonsus, who had done the exorcism in 1974, was contacted by a priest who said he had done a house cleansing on the same house 20 years or 50 years prior, which would have been in the 1920s. So I don't know. There's so much mystery that captivates your imagination of what's going on up there. I love the place, and yet I'm not afraid of it. But there are times when I can go up and get ready to unlock that door, and I think twice and I leave. You know when something's going to happen in this house. I do. Others have too. And those who don't have that insight, I'm not a psychic. Those who don't have that insight could be in a world of hurt. My second book details one incident that happened to me up there that was so traumatic to me that I stayed away from that place for 5 weeks. I wouldn't even go. You couldn't get me out there if you paid me 10 grand. I wouldn't go. And then I broke down and said, I've got to continue to get the answers to what's going on, because being born a skeptic, always being a skeptic, being raised in the Catholic Church, and then wondering what in God's name can cause one place to be so notoriously almost demonic, but I don't believe that anything is demonic there. But there is one entity that I will tell you is absolutely horrible. Probably if this person was the same alive, I wouldn't have ever wanted to meet him in person.
We'll get more into that as we warm up for the show here in the first half hour. That'll be second half hour type of information. I'm curious for you, Paul. You said something really interesting to me, and I'm paraphrasing here. Basically, you can't give up on this. You need to know. Why has this affected your personal psyche so much? Why is it driving you?
Because Alex Tannis, who was a world renowned psychic, you can look him up. You can research him. AlexTannisFoundation.org. He told me that evening after the exorcism that, and I still to this day, all these years later, and Alex is no longer with us, but he told me the house wants answers for me. I was a 22-year-old hippie with hair down the middle of my back, Dave, at the time, and the house wants answers from me. To this day, I'm still trying to figure that out. And Father Al told me to stay away from the house because one day it could very well kill you. And coming from a priest, a friar, those words coming from him really put a tight squeeze on my soul. But I have to know.
You almost remind me of the Ghost Rider. You know, I know that's a funny term, but that the story, the job never ends.
Yeah.
And that it almost seems like that's become part of you. I'm like that at to a much lesser extent at my local museum, where, you know, when things happen, I almost feel responsible that they happen, because when you get addicted to a place that has such fascinating and beautiful yet scary at times encounters, you become protective of it, almost like you're the gatekeeper of fantasy mixing with reality. Would you say that's you as well?
I think so. I really do. You know, I'm still learning. At my age, I'm still learning the whole realm of paranormal. There's so much entailed in all of this, but when it comes to a haunting, why is it so scattered? One day in particular can be from morning to night just insane, and then for 2 weeks it can be absolutely quiet. Beautiful place.
This house, it goes back to the mid 1800s and has obviously seen a lot of life in it. A lot of people have walked through those doors. A lot of eyes have stared out the windows. A lot of meals have been cooked in there. Are there periods of history in this house that were just absolutely ugly to lead it to where it is today as one of America's most haunted houses?
There's a lot of folklore, Dave. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of research that needs to still be done. I mean, there's the folklore that this could be on a burial ground of Native Americans. I've yet to find any. This is on a hill. It's not anywhere near a body of water. There's no rivers around. The closest river is, as the crow flies, about 2.5 miles away. Native Americans, Indians, in the old days, they settled by water for their crops, for their cattle, for their livestock, and for transportation. But yet, the rumor is there was a massacre in the area. I found nothing. There was Alex Tannis, in his psychic beliefs, thought of this place as being an inn with a stagecoach that went nearby. And the owners of the inn of this house would rob and murder the passengers on the stagecoach. And there's now we've done underground radar detecting. A man was brought in with over 40 years experience, and they have found several anomalies on the property in the same area. We call it the cemetery now. What looks to be bodies underground. And this past week, we had 2 shovels. I was ready to dig, but the weather didn't allow it. The weather was horrible here. Seems like every time we go there, the weather just encompasses the house. But like I said, there's rumors of the massacre of a Indian burial ground in a stagecoach, which we did find out. In 73, Alex Tanner said he psychically experienced in his vision a stagecoach run. We found out he was right. He didn't know nothing about this place back then. Nothing. Nobody did. We didn't find out until a couple of years ago. So that's really amazing.
My. 3 minutes ago, before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Paul Kenyon is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking about the haunted Hinsdale house. For people who may not know, where is Hinsdale, New York?
It's in western New York, right about 70 miles south of Buffalo, New York, near the Pennsylvania border, half an hour from the Pennsylvania border.
And is it a town that has a lot of deep history and roots?
Not really. Very, very small community. I think Hinsdale has a population of about 3,000 people. It's spread out. It goes up into the hills and such, but it's not a very large community at all. It used to be part of Olean, New York at one time. And Olean, in its heyday, was a 26,000 population city. So it's all small communities in this area where I live, including Hinsdale. They only had 3 weekly newspaper publications back in the 1800s. They've had no publications since, I think, right at the turn of the century. So it's a very small place. Everything is countryside down here, Dave. No big cities anywhere near us. Buffalo's the closest big city, or Jamestown, which is 50 miles away. So it's a small, tight-knit community in the whole area.
So being that it is a tight-knit community that, people pretty much know everybody else's business, there has to be a lot of legend outside of this that really drives the story as well.
There really isn't. It's the
Really?
house. The house began its notoriety when the Dandy family moved in. And it first started out with just the strange noises, but it's a country home. You would think that would happen. But then there were chanting, which sounded like Gregorian chants up in the mountains that Clara heard when they first moved in, when she would take her dog for a walk. Then there was the boy, who had been seen by many people, even up to today, in many different occasions. A young boy who seems to be walking through fields and stuff and it vanishes. We saw what appeared to be that same boy once. In 51 years for me, once. And it was a pretty frightful experience. Everybody in the van saw it. And it was it sounds crazy, just a half a person walking into the woods. You couldn't see his legs, only his upper half, and he was on the road. And the headlights were directly on him when we were coming down toward the bottom of the hill. And he just melded into the forest.
Paul, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Paul Kenyon, the haunted Hinsdale house. Demonic possession, exorcisms, ghosts, poltergeist activity, spirits all over. We're going to learn more about it when we return on Spaced Out Radio right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, everybody. Hot start, my man. Hot start. Oh, somewhere that muted. There we go.
Oh, there I am. I'm back.
Yeah, that was a nice hot start.
Well, the house can give you a hot start. It really can. If you weren't so darn far away, I'd invite you up.
Yeah, no kidding. But you know what? Old Davey likes to travel every now and again.
Well, if you ever get up this way,
And
send me a message.
same for you for my haunted museum here.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
I had this 1910 on the museum site. They have this 1910 Clydesdale barn. It's still one of the largest standing A-frame buildings in the world. It's about 70 yards long.
Wow.
And one of the morons who used to be a part of the group, and I call him a moron because he was literally a 70-year-old man-child, because he was a firefighter for 35 years. There's no such thing as the paranormal. I don't know how the two tie together, but they do. So this genius decides to rip apart one of the stalls because he doesn't believe in the paranormal. It's the exact same stall where we got a photograph of a Clydesdale head popping out of the stall door. And what does he do? Now, remember, this is on the old Gold Rush Trail. So what does this idiot do? He goes and puts a jail cell in the barn. Builds a jail cell. Back during the gold rush, that trail was filled with robberies, murders, lots of death, lots of gold, lots of prospectors winning it all, and even more losing it all. And they did things to themselves, and it was a disgusting time in Canadian and American history.
Huh.
There was no police at that point. When you put a jail cell into an area that is extremely haunted with spirits from that time, and you bring the law into it, what are they going to do? The spirits are going to take off. Now my most haunted building has gone damn near silent for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I wish that house would go silent when I was up there. It has.
Oh. We actually, for 3 years after COVID, we actually canceled our tour because there was no point. But we're back now.
Sounds like an interesting place.
All right.
I'm not used to this many people. We stream. We stream, Dave, on my channel quite often. Don't get this many people. I just started doing this. With the house.
Well, I'm glad you chose our show. I know you have a lot of your followers in there, and I know they may have never heard of SOR, but I just want to let you guys know, if you're wondering what the hell we're doing here, we are a live hybrid of a live radio show, which is why we have to take commercial breaks to time everything out. But you get the back end scene. We are also a live YouTube, Twitch show, as well as a live podcast. So we have to put them all together in order to do what we need to do on a nightly basis. So you get behind the scenes, the people listening on the radio, well, they don't get this part of the conversation. And that's why we take these commercial breaks. But hopefully we do enough that you will do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. I'm here Monday through Friday. And then Sweet Robbie G is here for Saturday and Sunday. And then we got a couple of smaller shows, one called Element 115, which starts Friday before my show, and Jessica Jones with the Cryptid Huntress before Rob's show on Sunday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So lots of stuff for you. Hi, Rono Eye on the World. How are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. And we're going to get going here in about 25 to 30 seconds. Big thank you tonight to W. Decker, Dandy House, T-Bone, and Deborah Rooney for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you. And if you really want something cool, head on over to our website, spacedoutradio.com. Hi, Whoopoo. Head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a great store there. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can actually wear our stuff in public and be proud to show it off. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and yes, my house is haunted as well. So is my radio studio, believe it or not. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We're also on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Paul Kenyon is here. He's breaking down the highly haunted details of the Hinsdale house out of Hinsdale, New York. The former Dandy House is one that has a history of strange occurrences with the paranormal. And Paul's going to fill us all in. The website is hauntedhinsdalehouse.com. Paul, thank you for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to come in.
What would you consider your position at the Hinsdale house? Like, what do you do there? Would you consider yourself a protector? Are you a tour guide? Are you a historian? How would you describe you?
Jeez. Well, in the 70s, I was a protector against all of the crazies that came up there walking through, would come in the back door and sit at the kitchen table and say, I want to see a ghost. That's how bold people were way back then. Today, I do open for certain people. I've opened for Sam and Colby. I've opened for Nick Groff, Katrina Weedman. I've done work with them on the different networks. I'm basically, I guess, a historian. I know I'm an expert on the original story of the Dandy family. I'm one of two, Clara Miller and myself. Everybody else is, they tell the story, but they get a lot of it wrong. Even after they've heard me tell it over 5,000 times, and I've been to the house about 5,100 times. That's a lot of visits, Dave. That's a lot of visits. When I think about it, I think I'm more crazy than I thought I was. But I'm a historian on basically on the Dandy family story. And I hope to be an historian on everything that happened up there from 1853 when the house was built till today. And there's a lot of in-betweens that we're still working on, a lot of history we're looking for. The McMahon family, which the house is on the road named McMahon. It was named after the family. They lived there for approximately 100 years, from 53, actually 61. Michael McMahon first bought the house in 1861. And his family continued to live there up until about 1962, 1963. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, but it's all the stuff in between. And like I said, Father Al had told us that a priest had cleansed this house in the 20s. So were the McMahon family, were they having problems? We don't know. From what I understand, no, they weren't. I had the eldest McMahon, the last McMahon who was alive, Elizabeth, her husband came to my book signing at the Olean Public Library, and he said, there were problems up there, but not like what the Dandy had. So indeed, when that land was stirred up, when that pond was dug up, when these bones were found, was something disturbed to the point where now they have a haunted location? I don't know.
What happens there?
The typical haunts that happen anywhere. And I don't mean Knox because I don't consider those. I watch these fools, and I'm sorry. I'm a very well outspoken person when it comes to this because I've seen all the crackpots, as you said, sometimes idiots. I've seen the crackpots, I watch the crackpots, and I correct the crackpots on their channels. Now, if you come to my Dandy page sometime, the Dandy House, you'll see how I really talk. You've got a show I've got to be nice on. I'm not a nice person when it comes to paranormal, Dave. I don't put up with the crap. What goes on there is, I already told you one thing about the footsteps. While we were sound asleep, we leave the cameras rolling 24 hours up there. And we're sleeping and snoring like a couple of water buffalo looking for water because they're dying. And you hear these footsteps coming up the stairs, and it sounded exactly like what Clara Miller's mom used to call the guy with tackety boots, army boots. They were very loud. I went upstairs being the smart, but it's hard for me not to swear, Dave, so I'm being good. I went upstairs being a smart guy when I was called up by a group out of Ohio, asked us to come up and visit. So while I come in the door and I tromp up the stairs and I said, hey, 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 dum dum, just screaming at the spirits because I'm an antagonizer sometimes. And all you could hear were two words. They recorded it on their equipment. I didn't have my phone with me. It was in the vehicle. And all you could hear were two words screaming right in my face as I got at the top of the stairs, right in my face, like somebody was standing right there and said, come here to me. I got down those stairs in 2 steps. And this guy who taught karate for 14 years broke down like a little schoolroom sissy. I started crying. It scared the hell out of me. It scared me so bad that I didn't know what to think. But those are minor things, Dave. Those are minor things that can happen in this house. I've seen many people get sick there just walking into a room. Now, I don't know if they have, mental anguish about hauntings or if something actually interacted with them to make them so physically sick. But I don't know. I mean, I can tell you the little things like that, footsteps, disembodied voices, EVPs, which I picked up, and I'm not even sure about believing in them. But when I hear my name, like Paul, like that, and there's nobody around, it freaks me out. Who's calling me? Don't just call me, touch me, punch me, which happened once. In 51 years, I almost got knocked out by air. And I don't believe that crap. I'm the skeptic. I don't believe in all the haunts that go on and what happens and transpires with these things. I can't believe that a spirit, a dead person, or even a demon for that matter, can punch you so hard your feet leave the ground, you break a mirror off a van, and you're bleeding. From what? Air? Believe it or not. And when somebody else would tell me this years ago, I'd say, that person needs a straitjacket. I guess I do too, because it happened to me one time. I've been touched before, minor, but again, those things don't add up to a haunting for me. The movies portray hauntings as something horrible, like The Exorcist, the Exorcism of Emily Rose. Those things are great movies, but for that stuff to happen in real life, and for something even minuscule as being punched by air that happened to me, I can't be a skeptic anymore, Dave. I can't.
Did you ever think that when you started having these occurrences happen to you, obviously being a skeptic, you're looking for logical answers. What was
I
the most what was the most illogical that happened to you that really stuck with you?
that right there.
Well, besides that one.
Um, Gosh, there's been so many. I mean, they're minor to me, but um, I guess when I was sitting in the bathroom, but I wasn't sitting on. I was sitting on the toilet, but both seats were down. I was just relaxing. Right in front of right across from the toilet is the basement door, and I taunt. I'll sit in there and say, "Come on, start doing what you did in the '70s. Shake the heck out of the door." Nothing ever happens. But I was sitting there and I heard Link, my co-host on my show, was upstairs and he was doing whatever, setting up cameras or whatever. I could hear him and I could hear Corey, who lives with Link. They were upstairs and the bathroom door just flew open. I mean, flew open. This was Tuesday, this past Tuesday night. It just flew open, garbage can with it. It was shoved. And I'm looking, I said, Link, quit messing around. And then I hear him walking down the stairs. I thought he snuck down the stairs and then did that, which we don't do. We don't pull pranks on one another. But I thought he did because we had just gotten there preparing for 5 days. And that bathroom door flew open. And then I heard him come downstairs and he said, "What did you say to me?" And I thought, "You got to be kidding me. You weren't down here?" He said, "No, I wasn't down here." I said, "You just pushed that door." And I'm thinking, even though it's logical, I heard him walking down the stairs, yet I'm still blaming him for doing it. You know, you try to throw it away, Dave. You try to throw it away and not sit there thinking that door just opened by itself. The skepticism, the old skeptical person stays with me, even though I'm black and white in front of me. It happened. How can I deny it? So, I mean, that, and when I sat down in the closet one time and showed my granddaughter, who begged us to go to the house for a year, she only knew it was haunted. She didn't hear any stories, any particular stories about it, because I don't want to scare a little child, even though she's 9 going on 30. She said, "I want to go. All I'm going to see is an old house, Grandpapa. I know it's not haunted. I don't believe in ghosts." So we let her go up. And her mom donated her bed to the house, to one of the bedrooms. And Sophia and I walked around the property with her grandmother, and we went through the house, sat down, just talked about schoolwork and everything, not about the house. And I said, "Would you like to go upstairs?" "Yeah." We go up the stairs. We're sitting in the master bedroom on the bed. Excuse me. I said, "Your mom's bed is in that room. You want to go check out Mary's room?" Which is believed to be the heart of the house by many people. We sat on the bed. Now, she's never heard nothing, I swear to you. We sat on the bed. As soon as she sat down, within 7, 8 seconds, she looked at me and said, "Papa, it's hard to breathe in here." Dave, I heard that from 1,000 people. I've seen people physically get sick in that room after 2 minutes. That room can go from 80 degrees to 60 degrees in a matter of minutes. It can be 90 degrees outside, sweltering upstairs, and the room just gets cold. Not cold, not freezing, but cold. Those kinds of things happen all the time. And I say, nah, it's all in our mind. It's not in our mind. You can't do that anymore, Paul.
Man, why do you put yourself through this if the place is having this type of activity?
I want answers. I seriously want answers, Dave. I'm not obsessed with the house because I've stayed away for over a year. I stayed completely away. And I'll tell you something about this place. And I don't know if it's entities, energy, spirits, ghosts, what have you. They're all clumped in a big conglomerate of the same thing. But whatever this is, this house, this property, this land, it isn't just the house, it's the land, it's everything around there. Um, it has a mind of its own. I have to say it. I have to say it, as dumb as that sounds to me. And I know a lot of people believe almost everything is paranormal if you go to a haunted house. It's not. And they don't jump on command when you go there. It's not going to happen. But there are certain dates of the year that it's more active there. I know that. I've been going long enough to know that. But this house can reach out to you, Dave. Something within that house can reach out to you. And I mean, I don't care. You can be having dinner, watching a movie, making love, whatever you're doing. And all of a sudden, for no reason, all you have this yearning. You've got to be there. I gotta go. I gotta stop what I'm doing and go. I don't know what that means. It calls you. It has a way of reaching out and God. The best example is Tina, friend of mine. We've been going to the house 15 years now. Tina is my granddaughter's not my granddaughter, but we'll go into this some other time. I helped raise this little girl when her mom had cancer. Was a good friend of mine, and her daughter, her mother Tina, and I have been going to the house for 15 years. One
Love
night she came over to me. I lived next door to her. She said, "We got to go to the house." I said, "You got?" She's a school teacher. I said, "We're not going tonight. The kids have school tomorrow. You've got to go to work tomorrow. It's going to take us a half hour to get there." She said, "We got to go. We got to go now. There's something wrong." I said, "What are you talking about?" I knew she was getting a calling. It doesn't. I get it all the time. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but she kept bothering me. She'd text me. She'd call me. She'd come over and knock on the door again. We have to go. I said, "I'm not going. It's almost 9. It's what is it, 8:30, quarter to 9?" She said, "Well, if you don't go, I'm going alone." That's something she wouldn't do. She was scared to death of that house. Scared to death about even driving in the driveway by herself. I said, "Okay, all right, get the kids ready. We'll go." We got up there. Every window was pulled out of the house, not pushed in, pulled out of the house. The ductwork for the furnace, for the heating elements, were on the front porch. The wires were pulled out of the wall. So I called the state police. This was the worst case of vandalism that ever happened. We were watching over the house for almost the entire summer after the last couple that actually lived there stayed there. And I called the state police. When they got there, State Trooper Mark Jones was shining his light around saying, "What happened?" I said, "They demolished the place." He shines at the roof and notices the chimney was totally taken apart. It's all over the roof. We thought, what the heck is somebody doing? He said, "Paul, this isn't vandalism. It's pre-demo. This is what they do when they're going to knock a house down." They were going to knock the house down, Dave, 2 days later. We had gotten permission from the owners at that time who took the deed back over. They sold it to an old couple on a land contract. When that couple died, and they died within 2 months of one another, it went back to the Reese family. We got permission from the daughter to do a movie up there with a group. Bill Conley from Edmonton, Canada. He came down. He purchased the house. He put a down payment down to do a movie, which never panned out. And 2 days later, the brother who was fishing in Florida, deep sea fishing, he already had an order to go in to have that house knocked down Thursday. This was a Tuesday night. Tina nagged me for all that time to go up there. That house saved itself, or something within that house saved itself. Otherwise, it wouldn't even have been there Thursday. It would have been knocked down. It's nuts. There's life inside that house completely.
What's the names of your ghost or ghosts in there?
Oh God, You name a name in the English language, it's there. According to all the nutbags that go up there. As far as I know, the only name that has ever come up to me that I've heard more than once is Laura, who was the middle daughter of the Dandy family. And Clara believes her daughter would go back to that house because she loved it. Laura died at a very young age, and she always predicted her own death at a young age. And she died at, I do believe, at 32. But Laura would go back up there, and many people. Laura had she was addicted to Vicks. She loved the smell of Vicks and would put it on her chest at night when she was a child. I think you're muted, Dave.
Me too. Me too. And to this day, my friend,
Are
I'm
you
still.
kidding me?
Oh yeah. It's, you know what, Vicks Vapor Rub and Vicks Inhaler is the greatest radio savior of all.
Maybe I should do that for my throat because I have no voice. But no, she was addicted to Vicks and she loved the smell of it and put it on her chest. I don't know how many times we smelled Vicks in that house. And other people who don't even know this know the fact, that have never heard that fact that Laura loved Vicks. No, it's really, as far as names, Dave, everybody says Wilhelm, Bert, Jennifer, Laura, everybody, every name. But I don't know anybody. I mean, Flo has come up. The last tenant, her name comes up all the time. And I have to tell you, I mean, this is a show about paranormal and about hauntings. I don't believe in spirit boxes. I think they're just nothing more than a novelty. These apps on your phones, don't spend your money on them. Use these. This is what you use for paranormal, your senses. That's all you need. I've heard voices. I've been punched. I've been pushed. I've been scratched, touched, rubbed, whatever. I hear the stuff myself with my ears. I don't need these gadgets to make somebody else rich on something that has no proof they work. They don't. In my opinion, they're just novelties. I use what God gave me the best, my own senses.
I think more people need to do that because we are always trying to come up with the latest gadgets and gear, but your best piece of equipment on a paranormal investigation is your own senses, in my opinion.
I think so. It's worked for me. I've never been wrong. I'm trying to read the chat, but it goes too quick.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Our YouTube chat flies on by during the show. So that's why we always encourage people on our radio lad to come check out our YouTube chat sometime to hang out with the regulars around here. But we got about 1 minute to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Paul Kenyon is our guest tonight. The haunted Hinsdale house is the topic. Is there any ghost animals in the house?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was up there with Richard Estep. He came in for an investigation, and he had two women with him. We were sitting in the living room just talking, and we all immediately looked to one another quick because there was a cat that meowed 3 times in a row. We got it on recording too. And when Link was up there the time before this past weekend, he was up there, and on his recordings, there's all kinds of dogs barking. I can't think. Now, the Dandy family had a lot of dogs that died there at the house. Had 2 dogs that died at the house. And I don't, yes, they did have a couple of cats that passed away outside, I do believe. And Flo and Joe, who last lived there, they had a dog that died there. So it's possible, that they're still hanging around too. Maybe they got trapped there.
And on that note, Paul Kenyon from the haunted Hinsdale house will be back for hour number 2. More stories, more hauntings, and audience questions as well. This is Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Paul, we got about a 5.5 minute break here. I'm going to just take a quick break here. I'm going to put you back in the green room. And if you want to take a bathroom break, fill up your water, or chat with the people in the chat room, you're more than welcome.
I'll be right back.
All right. Be right back, everybody. Hour 2 coming up right after this. All right. I am back. Let's get Paul in here. You having fun, Paul?
Yeah, I am. You caught me while I was cheating over here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Hi, Cat Chaser. You're awesome. How you doing?
Oh, Kim fell asleep, I'm sure. Nancy, I'm sure she's long gone by now. She's got to work tomorrow. See, you guys are 3 hours behind us. All my people are, they're on the East Coast. And, Link's awake. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thunderhead, how you doing? T-Bone, my man. Thank you for the double shot at Super Chats there. Cindy Kramer, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing?
Hi, Cindy.
And am I missing anybody here? I hate missing people. That just drives me nuts. All right. I think we're caught up.
Hi, Bert.
Retraced Echoes. Welcome to SOR Chat. We got 22 seconds. Big thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, W. Decker, Dandy House, and Deboruni for the Super Chats tonight. And W. Decker again with another great Super Chat. Thank you very, very much. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. It's at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go with hour 2. Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. The haunted Hinsdale house is what we are talking about. Paul Kenyon is our guest tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears, especially if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Thank you for allowing us to bring some woo to your nights. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Paul Kenyon here once again for hour 2 of the show, where we're talking about the haunted Hinsdale house in Hinsdale, New York. And this is considered one of the most haunted houses in the United States. Paul, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate your time.
I'm enjoying the show, and I researched it and really liked your show a lot. I'll be here all the time now. I'll be stopping in, even though you're so far behind us in time. It's almost the wee hours over here.
Well, you live in the future. You
Now
live
we
in the
do.
future. So it's like with our Australian listeners. They live in Tomorrowland. They're
Oh,
in the future.
they're way ahead of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but you know what the good part about that is? I always ask our Australian listeners, because they're into tomorrow. I say, am I alive tomorrow? And when they say yes, I know I got at least one more day on this planet.
I never thought of that. I've got many friends in Australia, and I should ask them the same thing.
Absolutely, you should.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's comforting, actually. Very, very comforting. Paul, you have experienced so much of this house. You'd heard the experiences. The one that I can't get off my mind is the Exorcism. What happened there? Tell us in detail.
Okay. Alex Tannis came to the house in 1973. He's the world-renowned psychic, wonderful, wonderful man. He came to give a lecture at St. Bonaventure University on paranormal phenomenon and psychic phenomenon. And Father Al, who was the friend of the family, he asked Alex to go to the house that night after the lecture, and he agreed. And he came up at that time, walked through, gave his impressions of what he saw, and he's the one that told about the stagecoach run and how he believed that the people that lived in that house at one time killed people. So he came back a year later with a crew, a 7-man crew from NYU, New York University, to document the entire 2-day stint on doing the exorcism, and then a follow-up with a documentary from all the witnesses and the family, myself, and a couple of others. When they arrived, I was already at the house and I was told to get out, as was the family, because Alex wanted to walk through the house one more time before Father was to perform the exorcism. And it was an exorcism, a simple exorcism. It wasn't just a house cleansing. Father Al did not need to get permission from the church. Uh, and when we were allowed to come back, I was mingling around, watching them set their stuff up, talking to the different crew that was there. And when it was time to perform the exorcism, I was sitting in the doorway of the kitchen and living room with two crew members sitting alongside me. We were kind of at an angle watching the family kneel in the living room with Father Al and Alex Tanis. And while Father was saying the Roman ritual, was reciting the Roman ritual, something was walking down the stairs, which was just to the right of this doorway to the living room. You could hear it coming down. It sounded so strange because it was one step at a time. You'd hear one step, the next step, the next step. I think there were 6 steps before it stopped. And the guy that was sitting on the right of me was leaning into me. He said, "My God, something is going to get me." I said, "In about 2 seconds, we're all going to run into the living room." And that's when it stopped. And just as Father was coming to the end of the very short prayer, it wasn't the Roman ritual in full, because that takes some time. When he was coming near the end, this is the thing that really is beyond anything I can understand. There was a cry between a banshee, sounded like between a banshee, a cat in heat, and a baby crying. I mean, all mixed into one. But it wasn't coming from any one place, Dave. It was coming from behind us in the backside of the kitchen, straight from the living room. It was coming from around the corner of the bathroom. We couldn't tell where it was coming from. And Father had said something, and the gentleman who was running the soundboard had headphones on. He said, "Shh, shh, don't talk. It's still going on." It had petered down, but it lasted for probably 40 seconds. And it was loud. It was like the whole house was crying. And I can't understand that. I mean, what was happening? We none of us knew. But this is the night that Alex said that the house wanted answers from me. I don't know nothing except what I've researched. And I still, and I have to say, I don't know any more than I did in 73, except for every grave site of every McMahon family member to be sure they weren't buried on that property. And we do have them all from 1861 all the way to the last McMahon. We know where each one of them was buried. But that night was a very strange feeling when he was saying the prayer. You could feel, I don't know how to explain it other than a very malevolent, thick atmosphere within the house. It's hard to explain unless you experience it, and I did experience it. It's still hard to explain it. I don't know what that was going on. We see it in movies and go, "Oh my God, that's horrible." But when you're inside a room where an exorcism is taking place, and it's not on a person, it's on a whole structure. It's out of this world. Horrible. And every time I talk about it, I'm back there. I feel it. I relive what happened that night. And it's just I can't explain it any better than that. I really can't.
As you move forward here with the Hinsdale house, what do you want to see happen? What do you want to find for answers?
I want to know why I personally, Dave, am hated by one entity. I want to know why I'm I'm always the one it goes after when there's people there. When there's several of us there, I'm the key factor. Go after him every time. It always keys on me, and I don't understand why. Other psychics have told me that we have the same demeanor because I can't say it. You got a good radio show here. I gotta be careful with my words, but come to my show and you'll see how I talk. But I am a very rough edged guy. And I think that entity and I bump heads. I remind him of him. And you don't like it.
Have you ever taken home any type of attachments or anything with you once you've left the house because the spirits just want to stay with you?
A few times, yeah. Yeah. My dog goes nuts upstairs. He'll be laying on the bed, and I have a chair right next to my bed, and I'm watching YouTube videos or whatever. My dog doesn't bark at just anything. He doesn't bark at other people in the house. He'll stare at the door. He'll stare at it and I know when he's ready to go nuts. He'll stare at the door and just slightly give a yelp, and then he'll growl, and then he'll absolutely go nuts at the door. And I immediately, as soon as he goes nuts, and the door is maybe 4 feet from me, I jump up and open that door as quick as I can. Nothing there. And that's when he goes crazy. So there's something there. But now here's something that happened one night. When Tina and I got back from the house at 3:00, I went to her house. We were going to sit and have a cup of coffee and talk about the few incidents that happened that night. We were sitting there. I'm facing right at the sink. She's on the other side of the table facing toward the counter. And we were talking about stuff. And as I picked up my cup, she had a pack of cigarettes sitting on the counter in front of us. And that pack went straight up in the air like that. If you can see it on screen, I'm sure you did. Straight up in the air and landed over. And we both looked at each other and said, "What?" And then we started laughing. We didn't even say a sentence. So we brought something home again. And right after that, we let her dog out. Her dog was an old dog. I mean, he moves slower than I do these days. We let the dog out. And when Zach wanted to come in, he would give one bark every time. Let him out, 3:00 in the morning. We're sitting there talking, 3:30. And all of a sudden, here comes Zach. He came in the door, and the door closed. And she's looking at me, and I said, "Who the hell let the dog in?" Her mom lives on the other side of her, but her mom wasn't even up for work yet. This was like 3:30 in the morning. I think her mom got up at 5:30. We asked Mary, "Did you let the dog in?" She said, "No, I didn't let the dog in." Those things happen. And then one time I went over, she called me over. We were about to go to the house, and I'm standing, in the kitchen waiting for her to finish putzing around like she always does. I'm standing facing down their hallway. There's a bathroom there and a bedroom over. Angel's bedroom was there. I saw Angel walk into the bathroom, not paying attention. And then I saw Angel walk into the bathroom. I thought, what the? She just did that. And I yelled to her, and she said, "What?" I said, "Didn't you just go in? Did you go into the bathroom and back out and back in?" She said, "No, I just went in now." Happens all the time. That house, you'll have something come home. It's not malevolent or anything, but you always have visitors. Not always. 1 out of 10 times, you'll always have something come home with you. I was here one night after coming home. We were streaming, and there goes footsteps all the way. There's nobody here but me. They were at Darien Lake. They were all at Six Flags. Everybody but me. And then there goes the football, and they heard it on here. And this is after we left. Then there was a loud crash, and everybody on the stream heard it. So I went upstairs, And the boys, Sophia, my granddaughter's two brothers, have these two big trucks, and they're under a stand, under a table in the living room. Now, the living room has a dog to keep the boxer in the living room when he goes to bed. There's a door that closes off the living room from the kitchen. One of those cars, when I went back upstairs, was sitting right in the middle of the kitchen. There's no way it could roll anywhere. It couldn't get under the door. And there it was. And I got really chilled. I came to, because I think Link said it sounded like a 2x4 hitting the floor, and it was loud. But one of the big trucks that weighed maybe just under a pound was sitting right in the kitchen floor. And I had just mopped the floors that early evening when I got back. So I have no idea, Dave. They come home with you. Does Hinsdale have aliens? I don't know, T-Bone.
I was actually going to ask that if there was any other type of high strangeness around there, like aliens, because actually at our museum, in one of the most haunted buildings that we call the Post House, back in 2018, we actually caught a photograph of an extraterrestrial standing in a doorway.
Well, there was a sighting up there one night by the Dandy family that was bright. There was a huge, huge bright light. Now, I got to tell you something else, too, as long as we're talking about that. One night, there was a huge bright light that engulfed the whole house. I mean, it went around the house, and then something so bright was shining through Mike's bedroom window, which is on the west side of the house. And when they looked, there was a huge light up in the sky. They couldn't see what it was. They couldn't see any kind of a craft or anything, but it lit up the entire yard, all of their property up there. So, it's a very possibility. And there's something else that we have seen on 3 separate occasions, and this is kind of neat. I haven't seen it in years and years, but you would see like an area of one of the fields, like a dance hall, a dance floor, the bright lights on the ground. They didn't come from the sky. They didn't come from there are no lights around here. There's no street lights. When it's pitch black up there at night, it's pitch black. If you're standing 3 feet from somebody, you are not going to see them. You will not see them. It's pitch black. There are street lights, no house lights. If you don't have outside lights on, you aren't going to see anything. But these dance floor lights come on in a field. And the first one we saw was maybe 10 by 10. It looks like a square floor, just bright as can be. And then we saw it again at the end of the driveway, and one guy walked into it, and it went out right when he got there, right when he got to it. And the third time was way out in another field, just in one spot, Dave. And you can't not see it because it's pitch black up there. And just to have a 10 by 10 foot area of the ground lit up doesn't make any sense. Now, that could be UFO, somehow UFO related.
Very, very weird. Let's get to some audience questions here, because I know they are piling up here. And let's start off with Joe in California, who is asking, Paul has visited the house so many times. Paul, do you think it's possible that someday when you pass, you...
Well, I'll tell you something, Joe. I've already arranged that when I do pass, I'm going to be cremated, and some of my ashes are going up there. Because I would love to be one of the permanent residents of this place, because there are a few people that go up there that I really want to get back at. I really want to get back at them, and I will have a ball with them. I will have a ball. Absolutely, Joe. You can count on it. I'll be there.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one from Jerry. Have you checked the map for ley lines?
Yep, and there are some. So there you go. I don't know who did. I haven't done the research myself. I don't remember who told me about 3 years ago. I know it's in my notes, and I will look that up. I'm even going to make a note. I even got my notepad ready for anything that might have come up tonight that I can double check on. Uh, Somebody had told me about 3 years ago that the same ley line as the Bermuda Triangle passes through this area, very near the house. I don't know what he meant by very near. I didn't push him on it, and I wish I had, but now I will. I'll check on that too.
Beautiful. All right, let's go to another one. Let's go to Simon, who is asking, Paul, are you down with ghosts and UFOs all being part of the same phenomena?
I don't think so. I believed in UFOs since I think the day I died. Hey, what's going on? Did I just Freudian slip something in? I believed in UFOs since I was born, I believe, because I've had many of my own encounters that I just couldn't understand. As far as ghosts, I mean, I saw my Aunt Mame when I was 6 years old, but as I grew, I'd always been a skeptic. Uh, I don't know how to explain it any better, but I've been a skeptic when it comes to ghosts until this house. This house has changed my mind. Even though, I've had experiences all my life, but I didn't know what those experiences were. Uh, I can't deny it anymore. I know they're there. I know something. There's no scientific proof, actual scientific proof. There's no scientific proof that ghosts exist. But you know what? Science has been wrong many times until they find the right answers.
All right, continuing on here, let's go back to Jerry, who is asking, have you ever brought anything into the house that triggered activity?
Um, Personally, no, I don't. I don't think I have. We've tried lots of things too. We've tried Gregorian chant music. We brought different dolls to the house. I think other people have too, but I myself, no, I don't think I've ever triggered anything. The only thing that I have been able to trigger is with my attitude. I'm a very, very aggressive. I like to taunt the house, or not the house, but this one particular jerk that lives there.
You're playing with danger, maybe, my friend.
That's
You're playing
okay.
with danger. Oh, man, you're having so much fun. We got to go to break in 90 seconds here, so we got time for one more question, Paul. Let's go to Super Crazy in the chat room. Do you think these entities can kill us humans? If so, how do you think they do it?
In one part of the Bible, and I don't know the Bible as well as some people, it says that God will not let even demons kill us. But I do believe there are cases where supposed people that were possessed have died because of that possession. I don't know, super crazy movie geek. I don't know, but I hope not. But I'll tell you what, if that thing that whatever it was that punched me had brass knuckles, he probably would have given me some brain damage. Like I say, I taught karate 14 years. I've been in some major, major fights, and I've been hit by some bulldogs. That's thing that hit me so hard. I I'll tell you what, worse than some of the hits I've had by some really big people.
And on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we'll have Paul Kenyon from the haunted Hinsdale house on for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue with some great audience questions. If you're in our YouTube chat room, just put them in capital letters. I will get those questions to Paul. Having a lot of fun learning about one of the United States' most haunted houses. Yeah, Hinsdale, New York is where it is. The haunted Hinsdale house. My name is Dave Scott. We'll be right back. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. Flying on by, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You're
It
a
is.
great guest, my man. You're an absolute gem of a guest. Thank you.
I'm all over the place.
Doesn't matter.
I've said so much about this house that I tell you what. Well, you want to see my attitude, Paranormal Pixie? You come listen to me when I'm talking normal. I'm a son of a gun. I tell you, I really am. I can be a real jerk. I don't mean to be, but I get so frustrated by all the nonsense in the paranormal community.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what, for me, Paul, what it is, I don't do a lot of paranormal shows, and then unless they're really specific
uh,
about, because I got so sick and tired of hearing about Waverly Hills and
oh
Gettysburg
God,
and the Lizzie Borden house that I was just so tired of it all that I just stopped doing paranormal shows.
I understand that, Dave. I really do. I uh, my second book was finished about 6 years ago. I haven't published it because I had a lot to say about the paranormal community. I really probably lawsuits, libel, scandals, whatever you want to call it, probably would have hit me. I didn't care, but I work with some of these people, and man, I tell you, they're frauds. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it the way it is. I'm not stupid, and I do a lot of research, and I used to own a security company, and I used to work with the sheriff's department. So you're not gonna hide nothing from me, no matter where you are. And I've seen some pretty good fakery. You don't do that. The story of the Dandy House does not need any fakery. The story is bad enough as it is. That house is haunted. By what? I don't know. Why? I don't know. But it's bad. It's it's really bad sometimes. So when it comes to, kicking a chair,
Yeah.
turning around, and oh my God, my chair's rocking. Get out of here with that crap.
My goodness. My goodness. Excuse me.
You're right, Beth. That's very true, Beth. What?
I don't know. I couldn't read the question. I could hear the sound. Couldn't read the question.
I think the Dandy House is playing with me right now.
Are you there right now?
No, no, it's behind me, but no, I'm not there. How many spirits do you believe are in the house?
Oh, I'll get to all those. We'll try
Yeah.
and get to all of these. I love that question, Melissa. Love that question. Yeah, I just grew disappointed in the paranormal, and I'm very cautious with who I put on the show now because just so many of them are they don't even know what they're solving. They're just there. My famous line about paranormal people is if you want to confuse and screw up a paranormal investigator, ask them what they do with their evidence. None of them have an answer for it. And yet the majority of them out there are all sitting there saying, well, we're conducting scientific experimentation on the paranormal. Well, what do you do with your evidence? What do you mean? We collect it. Paul, I swear to God, you're
No,
laughing.
you are me right now.
Oh yeah, my friend. Oh yeah, yeah. It's hilarious. Yeah, pissing me off, Evan Walters. Good to have you here. Oh yeah, my buddy's just laughing at me. My buddy's a paranormal investigator, and he's damn good. He is really, really good. He does a monthly show with me. His name is Merle, and And oh yeah, he knows that I am very, very finicky with the paranormal teams that I bring on. Because yeah, it's just getting to the point of ridiculousness.
Well, I'm not an investigator except this house. I don't run around the country saying, "Oh, I'm going to go find a ghost."
Me either. 1 second, my friend, because we're about to come back. Big thank you to Kate in the UK, Cat Chaser, W Decker ×2, T-Bone ×3, Deborah Rooney, and Dandy House for the amazing super chats. Thank you for the love and support, everybody. It's a great way to help us out each and every night. And here we go with the second half of the show. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we're continuing talking about the haunted Hinsdale house here on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very glad to have you with us tonight. Hey, if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on any major podcast network, which is absolutely awesome. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, here we go. Final half hour with Paul Kenyon in the haunted Hinsdale house. And we are right in the middle of, what can I say here? Questions from the audience. Yeah, apparently that was tough for me to say. Paul, welcome back. We're going to start off with Shadow Seekers Paranormal Team here. Have you ever thought about filming a documentary on the house?
Yeah, I've been doing that for years. I've got so much film. Plus, my co-host on my channel, which became my friend just because he found me in the chat one time on Facebook, thought I was dead because he just finished reading my book. But yeah, we've been filming. I do want to do a documentary. It's been on several networks, so I got to do it my way, and I got to do it right. And when I say right, I mean in conclusion to what happened with the Dandy family. Not all the hoopla, the exaggerated stories, the misinformation, and all that. Just a straight, right down the road story about the family. Not all this other sidebar stuff.
All right. Polly would like to know, do these entities realize they are dead or in another dimension?
Polly, I don't know. I mean, I'll answer that with the same thing I would answer with many things. I wouldn't know unless I die, and I stay dead, not for an hour, but for a while, and then come back after I played around over there, and then I can come back with the answers that we all seem to tend to ask. Do these entities? I don't know if they know they're dead or not. Maybe they don't. And I think the way things are, they might be on a different plane than us, and we just every once in a while would intersect with theirs, a different plane or a different. I don't know what it would be. I don't know, Holly. Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Let's go to Paramarv. Has there been any other paranormal activity around the house? I mean, we talked about a little bit about UFOs, cryptids, anything else?
Dan, the owner, Dan Klaes, has mentioned that a couple of people have seen a cryptid of sorts, and also oh dear God, see, I'm not the expert on paranormal. What is the entity that the Native Americans hold so dear? What's the name there? Come on, somebody in chat, please. Somebody help. I want to say a Mongwai, but isn't that from Goonies or something? Oh my God, what is it called? No, not a skinwalker. Not a skinwalker, Bert.
A Wendigo?
I'm sorry?
A Wendigo?
There it is. Yeah. And many people think there's an elemental on this land, which can be anything. So I'm kind of lost there.
All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's go to T-Bone in Vancouver, actually just south of Vancouver, New Westminster. Are there activities outside of Hinsdale on the grounds or in the air?
There is. There's been there it is. I just saw it in chat. Puckwudgie.
Oh, the old puck. Yep.
Yeah, there is, T-Bone. There's been a lot of activity. There's been a lot of people that said they have seen UFOs in the area. Actually, another one we did see, I forgot to mention, when we were leaving the house one night, there's I won't call it a mountain because in Western New York, we really don't have mountains, but it's a good sized hill. And we saw what looked like it was straight across this way, go above the mountain, and it looked like it was coming toward us. And you could tell the difference between, from this distance, you could tell the difference between a plane or a helicopter. This was neither. And it kept going way above and way below, up and down several times. And we finally stopped to watch it. And then it was just boop, gone. I mean, really quickly, it went in the opposite direction from us. And other people have seen the same thing in the same areas.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one from Necessary Dialogue. Who has died in the house historically?
Historically, I have found no one to actually die in the house or on the property for that matter. But that's my research, and I've done extensive research, but nobody has died actually inside the house. The last couple that lived there, they both, Joe was pretty sick before he left the house, but other than that, nobody died on the property that I know of.
Melissa has a pair of questions for you. First one is, what's the best paranormal team that's come into the home?
Wow. You're going to put me on a spot here. Who's going to be mad when I say somebody else? I've worked with a lot of people, but I gotta say, this is not going to be hard for me. I gotta say the team called Haunt Me. They have a YouTube channel, Haunt Me. I fell in love with them guys. I do believe that I had the best time with them. I like the way they do their investigation. They do it with no nonsense, no BS at all. I mean, they just go in 2 feet and just do it the right way. Look for answers. They don't do crazy things, and they don't use all kinds of equipment either. They do use some, but I think Haunt Me, really great group, down to earth as can be. And I didn't work with Sam and Colby. They were there last 2 weeks ago. We won't see that for quite a while, but I would have liked to have stayed with them because I had one of their guests really, really afraid after I was done talking to him. I mean, that poor girl is probably sitting at home now crying.
She's rocking in her safe spot right now. Melissa's follow-up question is, has any paranormal teams come to the house and tried to fake encounters there?
Yep. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't think that would be proper. Throw somebody under the bus. But one in particular, it was so blatantly fake and caught on tape. And I just wanted to strangle the guy through the screen. I mean, it just drives me. Why would you do that? You don't need to do that. This house has got enough absolute activity. You don't need to fake anything.
At my museum upstairs in the Clydesdale barn, we have a ghost that walks the catwalk on the upper part. And And this guy, you have to get permission to go up on his catwalk. And there's only a couple people he will grant permission to, and I happen to be one of them. And so I got permission for this television show for these people, these investigators, to go up and walk the catwalk. So I came back to my house, do the show, go back after the show, and they're wrapping up because they wanted to do a little bit more filming with me. And they're telling me all this stuff about the guy. And they're like, he kept on touching our REM pod, and I'm watching it on the TV camera screen. And they were still in shock about how the REM pod kept going off. And when they played back the film for me, I'm like, well, no wonder it's going off. It's being surrounded by bugs and mosquitoes and moths and flies that are setting this thing off. It isn't him at all. You got Mothman there, setting it off. Mothman's only about half an inch big, but, setting it off. I was like, come on. We got to be better. We got to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy.
All right, let's get to Shadow Seekers. How many spirits do you believe are in the house, and any children?
I think right now, gosh, that's a toughie. There seems to be a couple of little kids there. As far as number of spirits, I think people are bringing more in with their Ouija boards and stuff, which I don't believe in myself particularly. I think people are bringing more into the house because it changes. If you've been there as many times as me, you know the difference between, what can I say, the smell of vanilla and cherry. It changes every time you go there. It just totally feels different. So I really couldn't give you an answer on how many. I really couldn't.
I just think that it's an interesting point on that. I really do, because you never know. You never know. And what a lot of people don't understand is places like the Hinsdale house, or even like the museum where I am, you get a lot of ghost traffic, where
I think
ghosts
so.
where ghosts one day, they've never been there before. Then all of a sudden you get this spirit that's like a transient that's come in there to hang out for a little bit and then disappears just as fast. Seems to happen that way. All right, let's go over to Deb. This is kind of a funny one. Deb has a great sense of humor. Has a spirit ever crawled into bed with you, Paul?
I think so. I really do believe so. I do. I believe that not just me, others too. Last, it would be, let's see, August or November. No, it had to be November. We were there. And I remember, shoot, I remember the sleeping bag falling off me twice. And then when I pulled it back on me, I do believe somebody on the other side of me pulled it on further. And I do hope it was a female. I don't know. But I think so. I do believe so. Yep.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Jerry. Do you have a garden there? Do things grow well?
The only garden there are some of the flower beds in the front of the house, and they grow really well. Very colorful. There's not a garden. The house is occupied by people. It's nothing more than a research center now, and it's booked all the way through next summer. Weekends anyhow. It's constantly booked, and I had a chance to buy the house myself, and I totally turned it down. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I would not want to deal with that house on a daily basis. No. But things grow. The lawn is beautiful. Oh, things grow fantastically up there.
Let's go to Helen. Have you thought to use any luminol for possible murder investigation evidence around the house?
Uh, Actually, no, Helen. Well, I don't know if your name's Helen or not, but Helen Back. I mean, um, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't. Might be a good idea. I don't. Does that for forensic evidence? Does that stuff last for a long time? If I use luminol, would it show the evidence from? Would have to be set at least 70 years ago because nobody's been murdered there in our time.
All right, let's move on. Super Crazy would like to know, what are some of your favorite ghost movies?
Well, I do like the Exorcism of Exorcism or Haunting of Emily Rose. Sorry, and The Exorcist was a good movie. Uh, I don't watch very many of them, to be honest with you. I really don't. Um, Gosh, I can't even think of it off the top of my head. As far as ghost movies, I did like Hill House. I did like The Haunting of Hill House. That was a good series. Of course, it never did finish it, but I did, but they didn't. On Netflix, it just kind of up and disappeared, didn't it?
I think so.
I did like that show. It was kind of cool.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to PK. Do you think your old-timey mustache attracts the paranormal? Hell yes. I was waiting for a question like this.
It probably does. Link, my co-host, tells me to shave this damn thing off my face.
No, 100% disagree with that. That is a high-quality lip blade that only few of us can ever grow.
I
Lord
started
knows I can't.
I started growing this when I was 13 years old. I didn't want to shave that early, but I got a lot of Italian blood in me, so I guess it grew the hair quick. Except here, isn't it funny? All that hair down on my back, and now I got nothing.
Well, you know what? You got to keep that lip blade, my friend.
I'm not. It's not going nowhere.
Yeah, good. I like hearing that. I like a good mustache or beard combination. I do. I
Yeah,
really do.
I
All
just
right,
shaved my beard. You saw that. You saw the picture you put of me.
I know that.
And that only took me 2 months to grow. Not even 2 months.
Oh, yeah, I could do that in 2 months.
I wanted to grow until I left. I wanted it to be a easy top beard until I was done.
Let's go to Melissa again. Paul, do you stay at the house or podcast from there?
I just spent 5 days there with Link, and we had some guests with us who I absolutely finally. I mean, I fell in love with them after finally meeting them. Oh, great people! It's all on my channel. If you'll on my YouTube or my Facebook, it's on my YouTube too. If you'll share that, Dave, they can watch us being live up there and me going nuts and screaming and hollering. They'll find out the real me. But I'm fun. But I can be a real jerk. I I don't want to say the wrong words. Uncle Pecos. Uncle Pecos from Tom and Jerry. That was one of my favorite cartoons.
I love Tom and Jerry. Love Tom and Jerry.
Sinead, oh, my head.
Sometimes I always wish, going back to the Tom and Jerry movies, that Jerry would just get his butt kicked.
I know it, me too.
I wish Tom would have won once. Just once. It's kind of like, did you ever see that Family Guy episode? It's R-rated. You can see it on YouTube. It's about what would happen if the Wile E. Coyote actually caught the Roadrunner.
I always rooted for Coyote. I know he wouldn't make it, but I always rooted. I hated that little bird. It's just not fair. Not fair, Dave.
No. Jerry wants to know, what is the source of drinking water on the property?
It is a well. It's well water. 100% out of the ground.
Michael would like to know, has a sprite ever asked for help with unfinished business so they can cross over?
Not that I know of. They never asked me for any help. I think that's what my goal is up there, is to help somebody, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's what Alex tells me, or told me 51 years ago. Well, 50 years ago.
Let's go to Abbott. Paul, have you ever known someone whose presence made the activity stop?
Randy Carr, who was a friend of Mike Dandy, and myself. Sometimes if people have these stupid K2 meters going, and they'll all be going in the red. I've seen as many as 3 at a time in the living room. They're getting activity like crazy. I walk into the living room and they stop. And everybody will say, my God, they've been going for like a half an hour. Every time we ask a question, you walk in, they stop. Yes, haunt me, Ellen.
Man, you're like the mother hen of the ghosts. The minute they come around, they smarten up.
Well, they either stop or they go nuts. There's no in between. Well, I can't say it. Well, yes, I can. It's either dead quiet up there when I'm there for me, or they start their shenanigans. And I know I can honestly say, Dave, I know the difference between real paranormal activity and a house that heats up during the day and cools off at night. With all the cracking and banging and snapping. All my friends out there know that too.
With 2 minutes to go here, what do you want people to know the most about the haunted Hinsdale house?
That I both love and hate it. That I want anybody who can to go there and experience it. But don't go in with the attitude of asking questions. Just sit down. Sit and experience it quietly. Let the house come to you, because it will. If it feels like interacting with you, you'll be the first to know. You won't have to say, is there anybody here? I don't do that. I think it's stupid to do that. Of course they're there. Absolutely there. So, and to know the story in the true sense, and I will get that out before, God willing, before I croak. I will shave all of the misinformation, the embellishments of the story, and the pure BS away from the family story itself.
I get you. Do me a favor, Paul.
Yes, sir.
As we get ready to say goodnight to you here, I want to first say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I really hope it's not the last. You're an amazing guest and very gracious with your answers. Thank you for entertaining us tonight.
Thank you very much for letting me come on. And I really enjoyed it, Dave. Like I said in the beginning, I don't do podcasts. I did one with Retraced Echoes, and you know what? I got to say this. I did it with him because I yelled at him. I went to his YouTube channel after he told the story of the Dandy family, and I said, look, you got it wrong. Do your research before you start writing about this place. And we have become very close friends.
Good. And we'll patch everybody over to your website, hauntedhinsdalehouse.com. And Paul, Kenyon, thank you for coming.
That's not my website.
Okay. What is it?
It's The Real Dandy House on YouTube.
There you go. The Real Dandy House on YouTube. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. My friend, welcome and thank you.
Oh, that was pretty good.
That was fun. That
It
was a
was
lot of
fun.
fun. Yeah, man. I really appreciate you doing that. Really do.
I was very pleased to be here. I'd like to see everybody come over to my Dandy House page on Facebook. That's where we have all the fun.
Well, I'm going to mark your. I know Tim has been doing a great job at marking your links, so they do have it. They
Okay.
do have
Yeah,
it.
I saw that on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We will allow you to finally get some rest,
All right.
and and best wishes, my man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave, and everybody in the chat. I really appreciate you being here.
All right.
Very.
Take care, my man.
Thank.
Paul Kenyon, everybody. What a great guy. Great storyteller. Great storyteller. I think we made a new friend there. I really do. I'll be right back, everybody. Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, and we always enjoy earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We really do appreciate you tuning us on in each and every night. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kantakoi. Kantakoi is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the night. We say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and Another Creepy Story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Now, we have the macabre history of the Wiley House, also in Crawford Notch State Park, New Hampshire. Now, if you're traveling through Crawford Notch State Park, make sure to stop at the Wiley House Historic Site for a bathroom break, some ice cream, or a great view of the immense rock walls on either side of the road. But next time, park and visit for a different reason. Near the stairs stands a small monument marking the tragic events that occurred on August 28, 1826. Ethan Crawford, a well-known figure in the region, purchased the Wiley House, then known as the Old Notch House, in 1823, with plans to turn it into an inn for guests using his mountain guide services. Despite its location at the base of rocky cliffs and jumbles, Samuel Wiley, his wife Polly, and their 5 children moved into the house in the fall of 1825. Surrounded by majestic peaks and breathtaking nature, one can imagine the Wileys living a peaceful but rugged life. However, life in the mountains is sometimes unpredictable. In June of 1826, a rock slide narrowly missed their home. Thankfully, they were unharmed, but luck was not on their side for long. On the night of August 28, 1826, a heavy rainstorm triggered another massive rock slide. The noise and vibrations woke up the Wileys and 2 hired hands who were staying with them. In fear, they fled from their home, but straight into the path of the slide. All 9 people were crushed to death under enormous rocks. In a strange twist of fate, the house itself was spared from destruction by the rock slide. The giant boulders had veered left and right above the house and then came back together below, continuing on their destructive path. The following day, neighbors, including Ethan Crawford, went to check on the house and found it abandoned with belongings scattered, indicating that everyone had left in a hurry. Over the next few days, they recovered 6 of the bodies, but 3 of the Wiley children were never found and remain buried beneath the rocks to this day. Interestingly, this tragedy sparked an influx of visitors to the region, with artists like Thomas Cole and writers such as Nathaniel Hawthorne documenting the site of destruction. Crawford's homestead also suffered great damage during the storm, but thanks to the surge in tourism, he was able to repair his home and build a new notch house at the northern end of the notch. It opened for business in 1829. The Wiley House came under new ownership in 1845 when Horace Fabian converted it into a 50-bed hotel. But eventually, a fire in 1899 and nature itself reclaimed the site of the devastation. Now all that remains is the marker and nearby Mount Wiley, which is named after the lost family. During peak summer season, you can visit the Wiley House Visitor Center in Crawford Notch State Park. However, all buildings are closed for the season starting on October 15th. Check the New Hampshire State Park's website for updates and more information. The stone marker is accessible year-round. and now a historic marker at the site of an alleged alien abduction in Lincoln, New Hampshire. On the evening of September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were returning home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire after a vacation in Montreal. As they drove south on Route 3, they both noticed a strange light in the sky that seemed to be following their car. Now, they eventually pulled over as the light got closer and an object began to take shape. The couple suddenly lost consciousness, and when they came to, they couldn't account for several hours of their journey. Years later, under hypnosis, they revealed details of being abducted by creatures aboard a UFO. This event sparked a fascination with aliens that continues to this day. Regardless of what you believe, their story remains one of the most intriguing tales of the White Mountains. Interested visitors can see the historic marker at the Indian Head Resort on Route 3 in Lincoln. And also, in Crawford Notch State Park, we have the Pet Cemetery. Just off the half-mile loop trail around Saco Lake in Crawford Notch State Park lies a small, unmarked pet cemetery. The exact origins of this somber spot are unknown, but is believed to have been started by locals who loved their furry companions and wanted to honor them in the great beyond. The cemetery is a peaceful place, surrounded by tall trees and the sounds of nature. It's not uncommon to see visitors taking a moment to pay their respects to these beloved pets. While it may seem eerie at first glance, the cemetery adds an element of mystery and wonder to this already beautiful area. After visiting the pet cemetery, it's recommended that you take a short hike up to Elephant Head or Mount Willard for stunning views of the surrounding mountains and valleys. For more outdoor recreation options in Crawford Notch, stop by the AMC Highland Center, just down the road from Saco Lake. The friendly staff can offer recommendations for hikes, scenic drives, and other activities in the area. Tell them Steve Stockton sent you. While you're there, don't forget to take some time to simply soak in the natural beauty of Crawford Notch State Park. With its rugged cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and abundant wildlife, it's no wonder this area has captured the hearts of visitors for centuries.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Tales Untold for another creepy story just like that. If you want more, head on over to his YouTube channel, Tales Untold. You can listen to a bunch of stories there for free. All right, it's that time of the night. We say hello to Sweet Robbie G from After Hours. Here's the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Sweet Robbie G, how you doing, my man? It's good to see you here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the building, sir. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. You're a hard one to get a hold of these days.
Man, I'm a napper in the day. So every time when you call me lately, I've been napping, taking a nap. Good old fashioned nap.
You're day napper guy.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of that lately. I don't know what it is. Just find myself needing to recharge during the day. So go ahead and make me a little something to eat and tuck it in for a good little nap.
Very nice. Very nice. I wish I had time to nap during the day.
Man.
I like a good nap. I do. I never used to, but the last couple of years, I like a good nap. I do.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Yeah, See, everybody agrees. Day naps rule. Team nap. There we go.
Yep. You know what my favorite nap is that summertime nap when it's like really hot out and you got kind of like the windy, warm breeze coming through the window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like laying on top of your blankets on your bed and you're just like, yeah, I could saw logs like that, man.
Well, I think it's more so of that here because we're well over 100 degrees every day here Fahrenheit. So you go outside for a minute, you do a little bit, and then it zaps your energy. I think that might be really part of it. 'Cause for the last couple of weeks, it's been about 100 or more. So
yeah,
I think that's what it is.
That is absolutely amazing, my man. It's good times. It very much is good times. We got a couple of stories that we're going to get to, and we're going to have to get to them pretty hard here, my friend, because, that's what we do on the UFO Report. Canadian journalist Daniel Otis has a couple of stories out, one on CTV News and one on Vice. And he hasn't been satisfied. Daniel is not only a friend of this show, but he is intrepid and dogged on this Canadian side of the UFO story. And I know for our American listeners, you're kind of like, who cares what's happening with UFOs in Canada? Well, the reason why you need to care is everything always points back to the United States. And this one involves the Five Eyes, Rob. So the Five Eyes is an alliance between the United States, Canada, and many others like New Zealand, Australia, and the United Kingdom. And did you know that they have been having secret talks? Not about Russia, not about China, not about the war in the Ukraine, not about what's happening in the Middle East. They've been having secret talks about UFOs. Now, I don't know about you, Rob, but before I go on any further, this is kind of alarming, don't you think? Because aren't these the same people who are telling us that UFOs don't exist and we don't need to be having these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, well, are they having these talks publicly, or are they doing
All
this behind? Say again.
All private.
Okay. Well, I think they've been doing that the whole time, so I don't think there's nothing new there. They've had to have been having these conversations privately this whole time.
Here's my thing with it. Okay. Here's my thing with it that I'm going to, well, let me read what Daniel has out here first, because that's kind of important. So for the last number of months, Daniel has been getting stalled through his access to information requests. Okay. And he asked a couple of questions and finally got an answer. Question one was, did a member of the Royal Canadian Air Force attend those meetings of the Five Eyes? If so, who? Were any other Canadian personnel present? The answer is, we can confirm that a representative from the Royal Canadian Air Force, RCAF, attended the UAP meeting held May 2023 at the Pentagon. In accordance with the Privacy Act and to maintain operational security, the Department of National Defence, Canadian Armed Forces, could not disclose the specific representatives that were in the attendance. The follow-up question was this: what did Canada share at this meeting? Since then, has Canada shared UAP reports or data with United States officials or Five Eyes partners? Have the CAF, which is Canadian Armed Forces, the Royal Canadian Armed Forces, or National Department of National Defense personnel participate in any subsequent UAP meetings with UFO officials, as mentioned in the doc, either virtually or in person? Here's the answer. As was provided in our response to you in June of 2023, the Five Eyes countries routinely exchange information on several subjects as part of our long-standing cooperation as partners in defense. We cannot disclose details of the meeting or what Canada's contribution was to the conference, as those details remain classified. This sharing of information is an example of the ongoing important relationship between our militaries. I find that very interesting. And then, there's a third question here. Is the Canadian Armed Forces, the Department of National Defense, cooperating with the Sky Canada project from the Office of the Chief Science Advisor of Canada? Her name is Dr. Mona Niemer. The Department of National Defense and Canadian Armed Forces are aware of the Sky Canada project led by the Office of the Chief Science Advisor of Canada. While we support the premise of the project, we have no involvement or associated records. So basically, what the Canadian Department of Defense is now saying is they are towing the lines with their American counterparts, saying, we're not playing this game. Don't ask us. We're not telling. So for years, the Canadian Armed Forces have been giving reports of UFOs to Chris Rutkowski, researcher out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. But since I believe they've shut Chris off, I believe, and this is just me assuming, that when the United States cut off the information line, which they did in 2023, that they probably had a discussion with these Five Eyes members saying, let's not do this anymore. We're tired of being grilled. Let's get these UFO wingnuts and their tinfoil conspiracies away from us, because we don't want to give up our secrets. Not because it wasn't real, but we don't want to give up our secrets. Your thoughts, Rob?
No, I mean that everything you explained there would be just as I expected it. Though the Five Eyes sound like five powers, and yeah, they're gonna sit up together and they're going to figure out how to keep the secret, how to try to keep a lid on the secret. Yeah, I think they've always done this since they've been allies, and since the UFO issue has been a real thing. We know that's been since at least 47, probably earlier than that. So I think they've been doing exactly what you just mentioned the entire time. So I don't really see anything surprising there. I would expect them to be having those conversations behind closed doors. And yeah, I mean, it's especially in the face of disclosure now, as close as it seems to be, they're probably ramping up those conversations and probably talking about how, what to do in the event of a disclosure. That's probably more of what the conversations are moving into now, I would think. But no surprise that they are having these conversations. And just to clear up, you used the Canadian term. I think you said access to information. Is that the same basically as FOIA?
Yes,
For everyone else? Okay.
It'd be the equivalent of FOIA. Thank you for catching that. I appreciate that. Here's my thing. There is strength in numbers. And when they all shut off the UFO taps, yes, there's always going to be a drip that comes out. Politics is a leaky subject. There's always going to be those drips of information that make their way to the public. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a report, maybe it's a redacted statement, or somebody makes a statement like a politician. But the way they are coming together on this, it really shows me that they are trying to get Western civilization off of this topic. They're not caring what's happening in Mexico or Brazil or France or Germany or whatever it may be, Japan. They're not caring about that. For some reason, they seem to be shutting down the conversation in the Western world, namely in North America and the continent of Australasia or Australia, whatever you want. When I went to school, it was Australasia. Now it's Australia, I believe, the continent as well. Please hit me up if I got that wrong. Okay. Actually, now that's bugging me. Let's just Google that. What continent is Australia in? I guess they're calling it Oceania now. Does that make sense?
Never heard of it. We got some Aussies in the audience. I know they'd be able to clear that up.
So apparently Australia is the seventh continent, or Oceania. Oceania is a region made up of thousands of islands throughout the Central and South Pacific. It includes Australia, the smallest continent. So, well, is it a continent or not?
Right.
Okay, let's just call it Australia. Let's just go for giggles. Let's just call it Australia. Oceania, I guess, would be the region, but Google can't figure out a region or a continent. Tell the difference. Nope. But the story is shutting down. Do you think this is a game plan to try and cut this topic out permanently?
For sure. For sure. That if they could figure out a way that they're actively every day doing that. We saw the disinformation campaign get exposed on the U.S. side, so we know if the U.S. is doing it and they're in alliance with these other countries, then they're all doing it as well. And we saw an example of that when the whole Chinese spy balloon debacle, and then whatever was shot down, the thing that they said they couldn't recover that happened to be across the Canadian border in the the obfuscation that happened there between the US and Canada not wanting to speak about that. So we knew the relationship was alive and well then. And like I say, if we caught our government here in the US in the middle of an active disinformation campaign, then you have to assume all those other countries you mentioned all know about it and are complicit in it as well.
I think that's a good answer. I mean, at some point, elected officials will have to start holding this accountability to task or questioning that accountability. I'm just curious if all this shutdown is caused by what's happening in the United States, because as a foreigner, somebody on the outside looking in, to me, it's looking very suspicious. And let's face it, in the Western world, what the United States says goes.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada, you don't want that air protection anymore? Remember when we sent that F-22 to blow up that drone over the Yukon? Because your 40-some-year-old CF-18 Hornets that you've never upgraded couldn't catch it because it was moving too slow? Your pilots couldn't lock in? Yeah. We've done enough favors for you. Remember that. Shut up.
And I'll tell you, those countries obviously are trying to get up under the country that's the number one power. So if something does happen where the balance shifts and America becomes the world power, like the literal one world power, that they can cozy up to America and kind of join in and create this entity. So I think that's kind of sort of, people are setting up different cliques around the world and rolling the dice on who's going to be the one to kind of lead and take over this thing. So it's funny, man. It's funny, but I think they know the America would be the ones to probably take the lead, and so they're gonna try to cozy up with us and kind of do whatever we say.
Sweet Robbie G, we got him for another half hour on the UFO Report. More UFO news out of Canada coming up on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Love it. Love it, Sweets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Paul DeMont says drones. Yeah. I think I said that before. I think drones are I think drones is like telling the partial truth. And it's enough. It's a word that could mean commercial drones, which would be adversarial or just human-made drones, right? And I think they're really talking about extraterrestrial drones. I'm telling you, that's what I think. I think that's the key in what we need to key on. I was gonna say something else. Oh my God, very important, very important. Oh, it'll come back. Hate when that happens.
I know.
Damn. Oh man, it's gonna kill me too. Let me see. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. So a point that I like to make for those skeptics out there, right? Because with the people who are just caught up in that adversarial tech conversation, is this world that we live in this world that we live in, there is no such thing as not knowing what the adversaries have. They know what we have, we know what they have. This is a world, run by espionage. We have agents on both sides who know the secrets. So it's like, it's so funny when you see them seriously have that conversation, like it could be something adversarial. You know exactly what they have. You know what they have. And then vice versa. They know what we have. So if we both know what we both have, then we both know that these things aren't coming from either side. So, man, frustratingly funny though.
Man.
Yeah. They got agents here right now. They have agents here right now actively on the soil that know about all these secret programs, and they know where the things are hidden at. They know everything. Same thing. We know where there's things are being held at. We know everything. So what game are we really playing here?
I hear you, my man. I'm just seeing if anything's been updated here.
I tell you, from its size and its appearance, this thing came from outer space. I even have reason to believe it.
You scare the hell out of me when you do that.
Yeah, I got a few sound clips. Gotta have them.
Trying to find one thing here. Uno thingo.
Truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah. The flag game of divide and conquer. Yeah. Real question, Simon the Likeable, is why don't more people care about what's going on? Yeah. True. I think they will. We just have to be able to take the stage. I think that's what it is. You have to have a moment like during the pandemic where everyone's attention is on this one thing, and then you're able to speak to everyone at once. We have to have another one of those moments somehow. I don't know how, but that's when everyone will be listening at the same time.
All right, we got 20 seconds. Big thank you to W. Decker ×2, T-Bone with a hat trick, Dandy House, Deborah Rooney, Cat Chaser, and Kate in the UK. Thank you for the love, everybody. Thank you. Don't forget, you can always listen to Sweet Robbie G. He'll be filling in for me Friday night with the Crypto Guru and then doing after hours Saturday and Sunday. Jessica Jones on Sunday as well. And don't forget Lee and Jackie with their show before ours Friday night called Element 115. Here we go. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio and the UFO Reporter underway. Turn up the woo, bring up your tinfoil. It's time to get a little conspiratorial with Sweet Robbie G from After Hours here on Spaced Out Radio. But before we bring Rob back on, let us say hello to all of you tuning us in and remind you that all of our podcasts are free by going to any major podcast network, or you can watch us on video on YouTube. Just type in Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's Sweet Robbie G hanging on out with us. Before we get to the next Daniel Otis story, here's an interesting one that came out earlier today. I don't know if you read this or not, Rob. I'm going to take a couple minutes to read this, okay? This is from brobible.com. Researchers believe a search of the Vatican's historic archives will receive key insights into aliens, UFOs, and other previously unexplained, paranormal activity. Sorting through the massive amounts of documents located in the Vatican Apostolic Archives, its official names, will be no easy task, however. According to the archive's website, the files are stored on over 85 linear kilometers of shelving. That's almost 53 linear miles worth of documentation covering over 12 centuries. A recent article published on the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops website explained that a group of scientists and researchers are seeking access to the Vatican archives to uncover information about UFOs and the paranormal. The reason for this has ties to Air Force veteran and Pentagon whistleblower David Grush's testimony last year, in which he claimed the Vatican was involved in the first ever mission of the United States' alleged secret UFO retrieval program. 1933 was the first recovery in Europe in Magenta, Italy, Grush said. They recovered a partially intact vehicle, and the Italian government moved it to a secure airbase in Italy till around 1944-45. The Pope back-channeled that and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it. Following Grush's statements, researcher Roberto Pignotti also came forward with a claim that he has proof that a UFO crash occurred in Italy on June 13th, 1933, 14 years before the Roswell incident. The historical record is filled with these kinds of events. Diana Walsh-Pasulka, a religious studies professor at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, told Catholic News Service, the people at the Vatican, they don't even know where to look. It's in their basements. The Vatican archivists are in a mad rush to digitize what they have. They have to prioritize what they think is the most important. They aren't really prioritizing orbs that are bothering nuns in the 1800s. Dr. Gary Nolan, a professor of medicine at Stanford University and co-founder of the Saul Foundation, a think tank established to research the political, philosophical, and scientific implications of UFOs, stated, the Vatican is probably the oldest library system of paranormal or supernatural knowledge still extant, adding that the archive has an aura of both mysticism and a feeling of deep truth that if you just know how to read it, you can pull that information out. Despite Nolan, his group and others' efforts to suss out any documents pertaining to UFOs and aliens in the Vatican's archives, Marco Grilli, secretary to the prefect of the archives, claims the prefect wants to affirm that there is no documentation in the archives that regards extraterrestrial life. So it won't hurt to let someone take a look then, right? Your thoughts, Robbie?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the problem, right? That's the problem with a particular entity owning the data, owning any sort of data, and then them giving you access to it. Maybe, who says they'll give you access to the full library? How would you know if you're accessing the entire library, if there isn't another door that has things locked behind it, which it probably would? I don't see any reason why an entity would curate all that data and then just open it up for you to sift through everything, right? So, and I mean, you would think with this phenomenon coming around all the time, everyone's seeing it, then for sure they probably have records of encounters with phenomena over time. It's pretty much guaranteed, but it's really all about, will they let you access, even if they took you into that basement and they let you go through as many files as you wanted to. How do you know you're going through the pertinent files? You know, how do you know that the files that record the real stuff are actually accessible to you? And I don't think you would ever know. And that's the problem with someone else owning data, because they can let you get access to what they want you to have access to. And that's the model all around the world with governments, these organizations, these startup UAP groups that gather data. It's the same all the way up the line. Will they let you access the data? And if they do, are they letting you access the real data, the pertinent data? So, yeah.
Well, here's the interesting part to me, and please understand, I am no expert at Catholicism or the Vatican or anything like that. But in talking to as many people as I have over the years, I get the picture, and it's definitely a secondhand picture, that a lot of the world's problems, or a lot of the world's new problems that we don't know about, are sitting in the Vatican libraries, the archives, in the tunnels below the Vatican City. I think there are hundreds, if not thousands, of secrets that have been withheld from humanity. Maybe for the right reasons, some of them for the wrong. Could we put it past the archivists to be lying to us, even though that they are one of the largest religious organizations in the world? I believe there's 1.3, 1.4 million Catholics worldwide. Would they lie to their congregation about this? Okay. And then you have to ask, if they do lie about it, is it about safety for humanity? I mean, there's a lot of claims that go on there. It's not just about UFOs and aliens. It's about the secrets of life. It's about it's believed the 10 Commandments stones are still, or portions of them are at the archives. There's rumors that, other artifacts dating back to the birth of Jesus Christ are in there. Artifacts from John the Baptist, many more. What are they holding back? We don't know.
Exactly. And that's the allure, right? Because we think they have all that stuff. It's rumored that they may have all that stuff. And that's the intrigue and the mystery, and it will always stay that way because you'll never get access to the records. So they could have the body of Jesus Christ in the archives down there, right? And that could be something that anyone could say, but you'll never know because you'll never get to go see. And that's why I say that's when you have someone else that controls access to the data, that's just going to be the problem, period, forever. So, I would gamble that, yeah, maybe as far as humanity, if we had to take just data that we can collect amongst ourselves just from our own experiences, I think it probably could rival the data that they may have there at the Vatican. I mean, you may get in there and just find a list of experiencer stories that just happen to go back thousands of years, which would be more compelling or more impactful. But what's so different than the data that we're sitting here curating and collecting right now? As this data we're capturing ages, then it holds the same value as that. So, I think the whole need or feeling the need to get access to these Vatican records, it might be overrated. Actually, I think you might be probably disappointed if they gave you access to it.
Could very well be, Rob. Let's move on back to Daniel Otis, the Canadian journalist who has written a story for Vice World News that nearly 70 years of UFO cases have come out involving the Canadian military. And this is the story here, and we thank Vice and Daniel Otis for it. John Patrick McManus was leading a night exercise in Manitoba when he looked up and saw a very bright light. Notice it's always Manitoba, man. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's always Manitoba. The light all of a sudden just zapped to the left, the retired Canadian lieutenant colonel told Vice World News. It moved at a speed that I could not comprehend. Over the past month, odd encounters between UFOs and the U.S. military have been featured in nearly every major North American news outlet, including NBC, Fox, CNN, and CBS's 60 Minutes. Through the access to information requests, or in the U.S. you call them FOIA requests, public records, and exclusive interviews, Vice World News has discovered close to 70 years of cases involving the Canadian Armed Forces, such as a large tubular object tracked by radar in 2002, a white spot turning blue and red seen traveling in zigzag formation above CFB Borden in Ontario in 1978, and an orange pulsating symmetrical light witnessed silently speeding over Ottawa, Canada's capital, by a pair of Air Force officers in March 1950. What's most striking is that this is not a new phenomena. Timothy Sale, the director of the University of Toronto's International Relations Program, says the fact that reports were filed in the early 1950s suggests that these are not recent commercially available drones. Sale is a historian whose research focuses on national security, foreign intelligence, and declassified records. He points out a document from 1953 that shows how Canadian military decides to standardize UFO reporting because of all the sightings it was receiving. That was back then, remember? Things weren't so tight back then. In Washington, UFOs are increasingly being taken seriously. The U.S. defense and intelligence officials are currently coordinating on an unclassified UFO report, which is expected to be delivered to Congress by the end of June. And the Pentagon's efforts to investigate UFOs, which were revealed in a bombshell 2017 New York Times article, are now being operated under a program called, well, that would not be the UAP task force. That would be ARROW. So it gets a little interesting here, my man. It gets a little interesting because these stories are out there. 70 years, man, of cases. 70 years.
Mm-hmm. We knew that. That's what I mean. And that's data that we already have. We know this. So it's like it's cool to know that the governments also know that, right? But it's like you would think with information like that, it's undisputable when you talk about 70 years, drones weren't around. So there's no possibility that the excuse they currently use today would not be valid. That it would but it just further shows you, because they should have already come to which they have, they just haven't publicly come to the conclusion that these things aren't from here and they aren't human made. So that in itself shows you an example of the reason why, or something that stops them from stepping out and bringing disclosure for the world. They've already known, they've had the data. The drones have been flying around for, like you said, 70 years. So there is no other explanation for them. When they sat down in those skiffs back rooms, as early as these things have been happening, they've come to the determination then that they weren't from here. So now what? You know what I mean? What do you do now? Or what do they do now? I know what we're going to do, but what do they do now? They keep obfuscating and doing just like we talked about earlier with the Five Eyes, and some conspiring on how to put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's their full-time job right now, is damage control and trying to figure out how to reverse the path that we're on. And unfortunately it's too late. So it's cool that you point that out, though.
Well, I think it just goes to the level of secrecy that we see happening these days, man. And I'm not sure whether it's June, July, August, so we're going to see anything. I mean, originally it was supposed to be near the end of June where we are now. Then we're here in July, and now potentially August. I just don't get where we are actually going with all of this? What is the purpose? What is the point? It's getting weird. You know what I'm saying?
It's been weird, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why you see when you hear people talk about UFO burnout or ufology burnout, the people that experience that are people who focus on the government side of this. The people who keep investing their energy into the government side are the ones that end up experiencing UFO burnout. And that's a trick, that's a tool that they use in order to kind of get you off of the trail. So that's why you have to stop focus. That's why I always say, if they do something on that side, great, but don't spend your time and energy on it, because you too will get to the point to where you've experienced UFO burnout. And then you take a step back from the subject, you do other things, you go back into the other distractions that they have set up for you, and maybe you come back or maybe you don't. I've seen a lot of people drop out of this because they've experienced UFO burnout for one reason or another. And it's like, that's why anyone who spends or focuses their time on the government side of this, it allows them to keep doing the Lucy football thing, Charlie Brown football thing. You're going to get tired at some point, or you're just going to waste your entire life chasing your tail, right? And it's like, who wants to do either one of those things?
Well, I mean, how many more times do you have to have your tail chased, right? By your own mouth. And we're going to keep going around and around. And, a lot of people will say, oh, Dave, you're not giving any new information. There is no new information. There isn't. There is no new information out there. And the minute we think we're getting somewhere, it changes again. 3 minutes to go. I did want to mention this, but there's a bunch of new people coming out, Rob. And I know you're big on this one, so I'm throwing you the bone here, that are starting to believe that the Nazca mummies are real.
See, told you. Well, I ain't told you. Let me step back. I said initially when this all came out, going back to then, I said that I'm in the middle, but I kind of feel like, okay, I can see where this might be a little hoaxy, but I did also say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We, at least, instead of debunking this immediately, we should put this to the side, let the people who are qualified to examine these things test it out, and then come back and tell us, yes, they're fake, or no, they're not. And in doing that, now you see a year later, the a lot of people who just threw it out are now coming back in like, oh, okay, is this real? So, and that's an example I would show. We throw us in ufology, we tend to judge things immediately and say real or not real, instead of letting it sit here and trying to vet it and going through the processes. So I'm not surprised that I'm kind of surprised that the mummies might be real, because they look kind of funny. But the testing says that they found all these different things that they can't explain. So there you go. There you go.
I don't think this story about this argument, I shouldn't even call it a story at this point, the argument and debate between the Nazca mummies and whether or not they are real or not, I don't see it going away anytime soon. Because right now, the pro real aliens, Nazca mummies, are taking and getting the loud voice right now. And it's going to be followed up by all the detractors shooting down the evidence, gathering their information. So I think the debate is going to continue. I hope not, because it's getting boring. It really is getting boring.
Well, you got to ask yourself in the beginning, like, who knows? Seeing these things for the first time, you're like, okay, wow, this looks weird. It doesn't look like it should be a real thing. But how many times have you seen an alien mummy, though? Never. So how could you say that this isn't an alien mummy? Because you don't have any prior experience with alien mummies to know if this is or not. So the only thing that you can do is run it through tests. This might be how all alien mummies look once they passed on, and we look very different in our mummified form down the line. Now, if you saw a human mummy for the first time and you just looked at it at face value, it doesn't really look like a living human. So you might say, hey, that's fake. You know what I mean? Until you test it out. So that's why we have to vet all our information, because we've thrown away a lot of credible evidence. And I'll leave you with this. And we're gonna have we're gonna be talking about the Kentucky Goblins next month, right, on this channel. So there's some things I want to tell you that are real, and we'll get
Sweet Robbie G, thank you for the UFO report. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, and on Twitter or X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. We literally have the best music ever.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me always want to reach over to grab my guitar and play some guitar.
Mm-hmm. I can see you jamming to that, Sweets.
Yeah, yeah. We got our own little music on the weekends, though, man. We got the that Never Say Never. Yeah, gets them going. They love that thing too. But Bumblefoot is on a roll.
Yeah, he's coming out with some new music soon.
Yeah. We have to check that out. Have to get some permission to maybe use some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say I was in this live one time. I've only been in this live one time, and I was in there about 8 months ago, 8 months ago, and he only had 20 people there in his live. And so he was essentially playing. He had a couple guys on screen. I forgot who the other guys were, but they would basically say the name of an old show, and then Bumblefoot would play the theme to it right there on the spot, just right on the spot. Right. They would say a theme song, and he would just immediately play it, very detailed, and just, I'm like, man, this dude is awesome.
If we weren't on YouTube right now, I would play everybody his version of the Pink Panther.
Yeah, he's sick with it. I think he played that on there too that day.
It is sick.
But it was an intimate audience. You were able to get questions answered, and he was just fully into what he was doing. He wasn't playing around. He was sitting there playing, and he did this for at least an hour and a half. It was awesome. Very awesome. You guys got to go to his YouTube channel, man. He plays over there, and he's awesome. He's definitely awesome.
Agreed. I agree. That's a smart thing. I got to try and get him back on the show. It's been a long time since he came on.
Oh, he's been on?
Once before. Actually, a couple times. Was it
Yeah.
once or twice?
Yeah, that would be awesome. You got to get him on. You got to. Everybody loves, he has to be on. Have to bring him on. That has to happen.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. He got the nickname a long time ago, and then his wife is a vet, as in a veterinarian, not a veteran.
Oh, yeah, because bumblefoot is a disease, right?
It's a foot disease in birds.
Yeah.
It's like bird gout.
Yeah, it looks nasty. I wouldn't recommend Googling it, guys.
You don't want any bird gout.
It looks very, very nasty.
I am Pam, by the way, Rob.
I heard.
Yeah, I am Pam.
Yeah, I heard you are Pam, and I heard Pam said you are Dave. So I don't know.
I look, if I am Pam, I cannot be Dave if I am Pam.
Right, but then you can't be El Avni if you're Dave as well. So I mean, it's just a lot of not a lot of names being thrown around.
Whoa. Just to clear up a misconception that you said there. I am not El Avni Volador.
Yeah, I heard you're not Dave either. I heard you're Pam, so
I am Pam.
It's strange. It's very confusing.
Oh, piss off.
Duality. Dave can be both Pam and Dave. Okay.
I'm not Pam.
Are you talking about bipolar? Oh, by being bipolar. Is that what you mean, Smart?
Not bipolar.
Duality. Split personality.
Look, I can't help it if I am Pam, okay? I can't help it.
Yeah, Ventures with Beth. She says, I am confused, LOL. Me too, Beth. Believe me. I am totally confused. Just wait till you meet El Avni if you don't already know, Beth. He's gonna
El Avni's an idiot.
Spin your head.
He's an idiot.
Oh, that is so hilarious.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about, El Avni? That I'm El Avni? What about what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. I don't know, man.
Look, I'm here every day. Where's El Avni? Where is he? If I'm El Avni Volador, why hasn't he come in?
We've never seen you both at the same place at the same time. It's like Superman, Clark Kent, and Superman. It's the same thing. Every time Clark Kent is around, you don't see Superman. Every time Superman is around, you don't see Clark Kent. Right? Alter ego, right?
I think you're on drugs. You're on very strong narcotics. You're feeling ill right now.
Disinformation, man. Disinformation campaign.
I think you were on drugs.
Let's say, look, El Avni and me are on a trip in another dimension.
I got a question for you. Because for some reason, one of my favorite movies, Step Brothers.
Oh, I love it.
It's been popping up in my shorts feed recently.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I could not get this scene where Will Ferrell takes his package and rubs it all over the drum set.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Classic fight scene.
Yeah. Oh my God. He got so pissed when he did that. He was so violated. Oh my God.
Oh
That is
yeah.
definitely one of the best scenes in the movie.
I was watching earlier last night. I was watching Talladega Nights
Yeah.
before the show. God, that movie. It gets funnier every time I
Yeah.
see it.
I wasn't a real Talladega fan back then. It was funny, but I did watch it recently within the last month, and it was just hilarious for some reason.
Mhm.
But I like everything they do together, really. I do. Sherlock
too.
Holmes is hilarious. Man, Will Ferrell is when he's with what is his name?
Nobody knows his name.
John something.
Yes, everybody knows him as John something.
God, he's good though. They're good together. Yeah, shake and bake.
Shake and bake. Shake and bake.
Anchorman is good too. I love Anchorman too as well.
You know what's really funny about Anchorman? That
John
most
C. Reilly.
Thank you, John C. Reilly. Shake and bake. That just happened. That just happened, Rob. Shake and bake.
And the funny part is that John C. Reilly, he's actually really good in non-comedic roles too. He's actually pretty good. I like him.
He
I
was
liked
in
him in
Boogie Nights.
Gangs of New York as well.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say here? Oh, what's that one? I want to rewatch Walk Hard. The Legend of Dewey Cox.
Oh my God, Dewey Cox cut his brother in half. That is so hilarious, Dewey Cox. Yeah.
Oh, getting back to Anchorman for a second. The funny part about Anchorman is whoever was the journalistic advisor on that show deserves some serious props, because I can tell you from working in a newsroom, there were so many little idiosyncrasies that only happen in a newsroom. It was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Like reading the teleprompter.
Yeah.
My buddy Pete got me one night on the teleprompter where because you get so used to reading the script that he changed my script. Instead of saying my name, he typed in, "I am a fat pig."
Oh, you read.
And I started with, "I am a," and I paused, and then I had to give my name again. I was like,
Oh
"Yeah."
my God.
Oh yeah.
You read what's on the prompter.
Always read what's on the prompter.
He'll read whatever you put up there. The How Now Brown Cow. What else? Oh my God, there's so many. I had a lot of clips.
New hot girl comes into the newsroom. Everybody trying to sleep with her. You know, that's totally true. You know, I don't know if it happens much today because I've been out of the game for so long, and newsrooms have become so woke.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens today, but I remember being absolutely dumbfounded one time when I was in college and I was doing a practicum at one of the larger television stations in Vancouver, and listening to the women talk in there, I thought I had a potty mouth.
They had potty mouth?
Oh yeah. This was an HR department gone mad type conversation that I was hearing right in the middle of the newsroom with three women, including their lead anchor. I've never heard women use the C word so much.
Wow. And women have funny banter between themselves. It can be weird sometimes if you're coming from the outside and you're not used to that. They do some weird stuff for sure.
Oh yeah.
Amongst each other. It's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm not a woman.
Sierra, Dave thinks that being woke is something that is has many meanings. It is not synonymous with disallowing sexual harassment. Okay, so we're not going to pick and choose what my definition of woke is. Okay, that's how people get into trouble, and that's how rumors start. So we're not going to play that game. Sorry.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing with not talking about what you're talking about, but with Deb from Sack is saying the C word to a woman is the worst thing you can call someone. You would think, and I would never say that myself to a woman, but it seems like within a woman's circle, they have this camaraderie between themselves where they allow themselves to use words like that, and I don't understand it. It's a girl thing. I don't know. I have no clue. Good night, T-Bone.
Good night, T-Bone.
What else you got here? Can't understand normal thinking. Okay. Got you, Magneticus. Round door's like, I don't know. Yeah. Exactly, Derek. I said that word once as a kid, and my mom gave me the metal spatula. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why, anybody can have a brain. That's a very mediocre commodity.
Why, anybody can have a brain. I love that movie. I still, every time I see The Wizard of Oz on television, I still have to watch it.
Yeah. It's a metaphor for us figuring out what the government is doing to us. That movie is. I'm telling you. Once you get a peek behind the curtain.
You got that right, man. You got that right. Man. Let's see what else we got going on here. Who's on the show tomorrow night? Oh, it's Varley Venture. Varley.
Yeah. I spoke to her last time she was here. Cool. That was my first time meeting her, too.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Partying with her is so much fun.
I can tell.
Yeah. That girl can party. So, yeah, she's one of the last ones to go to bed, put it that way.
Yeah. I was at Spaced Out Party and saw who was the last ones going to bed. So as far as the current group, I know who's the last ones to go to bed. Rob, when's your first radio live show? Dave Scott, go ahead and answer that question.
In a couple weeks, we're going to be when we take our 2-week work vacation where we're working and you're not. We're setting Rob up he's set up with the technology, but we got to set up the programming in order for him to excuse me. Sorry, guys. We got to set Rob up for the wheel. And once he's set up on the wheel and comfortable with the wheel, we'll get him to start sending shows over to our radio stations.
Then all of a sudden it's going to be like
conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
I like those. Where do you make those?
Woo!
That's hot.
That is
It's hot and beautiful like you.
It's hot. I'm just I made it in a recording app, GarageBand. I put it all together in GarageBand.
That's hot stuff.
Yeah, man. It's this creative.
I thought it was an AI program you used
for the voice. Yeah, but I didn't do it in a thing. I got a voice, and then I took that and took it into the recording software and put it together like a track, like a music track. So all those voices and things are on different tracks that I have the music, and I position them where I want them to go. And so, yeah, there's no thing that makes it for. I think they probably do have something that makes it for you, but no, I created that. Yeah. I just had the voices say certain things, and then I put them where I wanted them to go in the recording app.
Nice.
Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Well, let us call it the night. A big thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, W. Decker ×2, Philip, Kate, Awesome Cat Chaser, Deborah Rooney, and Dandy House for the amazing super chats tonight. Appreciate the love and support. Tomorrow night on the show, Varla is here with the Guru on Friday night. I'll be out in the forest on Friday. Hi, Country Carpenter. How you doing? And Sweets, hold on for a couple minutes.
Yep.
Actually, I'll call you on your phone in a couple minutes. We'll see you all tomorrow night, everybody. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.